Now we're going to start talking about complementary events. And so there are 3 rules right here, which, well, really it's just one rule, but there's 3 different ways of writing it. And so it basically says that the probability of an event plus the probability of that event's complement is going to equal 1 or 100%, right? And so let's do this example down here. Suppose we flip a coin 3 times. So we need to determine the possible outcomes. And so I'll just very quickly write them down. The way I'm doing this is I'm considering all of the cases when I get heads first, and then all of the cases when I get tails first. Okay, so there's 8 possible outcomes. So here, 8 possible outcomes. And so this is going to help us answer part B and part C. And part B says, if A is the event that we get exactly 2 tails, what are the outcomes in A? Find probability of A. And so I want to look for all the outcomes where I get exactly 2 heads, right? So that first case doesn't count because I have more than 2. But this one counts because I have exactly 2 heads. This one counts because I have exactly 2 heads. And this one counts because I have exactly 2 heads. And so HHT, HTH, and THH are all of the cases when I can have 2 heads. And so the probability of this is going to be 3 out of 8. Now list all of the outcomes in the complement of A. And so here, the complement is basically going to be all of these events that I did not highlight. So we can list them out real quick. So all of the ones that result in heads, tails, 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 heads, tails, 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 and finally tails, heads, tails. And so here, we didn't use any of those formulas from above, but the probability of A's complement is equal to 5 out of 8 because there was 5 outcomes that I did not include when I found the probability of A. And so notice that when I do probability of A plus the probability of its complement, 3 over 8 plus 5 over 8, I do end up with 1. Let's move on to this next example, which says that 40% of cars sold in a recent year were small cars. And it wants us to find the probability that any car chosen during that year that was sold was not small. So this is an example of complements, because if I let A be the event small car, then the complement of A would be not a small car. So anything else. Oops. And so here the probability of A, we were given that that's equal to 0.4. And so the probability of its complement is going to equal 1 minus that probability. And so I'm going to get 0.6 or 60%.